Okay, so let's have a look at paper 2 for the 2025 Higher Level Maths Leaving Cert. This is question 1a. The point P5 lies on the line 3x minus 2y plus 28 is equal to 0. Find the value of P. So all you got to do here is stick in the x and the y values into our equation. So you have our equation is 3x minus 2y plus 28 is equal to 0. X is P, so we're going to put P in there. Y is 5, so we're going to put 5 in there. And all we've got to do really is just solve for P. So this will give us, let's see, 3P minus 10 plus 28 equal to 0. So that'll give us, let's see, 3P plus 18 is equal to 0. 3P is equal to minus 18, and then finally P is equal to minus 6. That's it for part A. Okay, part 2. The line L has equation y is equal to minus a third x plus 11. The line H has 2x minus 5y plus 10 equal to 0. Work out the size of the acute angle between L and H. Give your answer correct to the nearest degree. Okay, so the formula we're going to use here is tan of theta, tan of the angle between the two lines, is equal to plus or minus slope of one of the lines minus the slope of the other line divided by 1 plus the two slopes multiplied. So let's just work out our slopes first of all. So line 1, the slope is going to be, let's see, it's going to be this value here, y is equal to mx plus c. So it's this value here minus a third. So that's easy enough. Second slope then is going to be, this is in the form ax plus by plus c is equal to 0. You could rearrange this to make it look like this and just pick out your slope, or you could just do minus a over b, so minus 2 over minus 5, so just 2/5. So there are two slopes, so let's stick those in here. So we got plus or minus, let's say minus 1/3 minus 2/5 divided by 1 plus minus 1/3 times 2/5. So the tan of the angle is equal to plus or minus what you get when you do all of this. So all of this is just going to be calculator work. So that if you do the top part here, you get minus 11 over 15. If you do the bottom part here, you'll get 13 over 15. So all you've got to do really here is just flip this upside down and multiply. So it's minus 11 over 15 times 15 over 13. 15s here will cancel, and your final answer will be plus or minus minus 11 over 13. Okay, so I've got to decide, do I want a positive or negative 11 over 13? Well, if I pick a negative 11 over 13, tan is negative in the second and the fourth quadrants, and they're not going to be acute angles. It's positive in the first and third quadrants. So the third quadrant won't give us an acute angle. So we need the angle to be in the first quadrant. So we need a positive tan. So really what I'm going to do is change this to tan theta is equal to plus 11 over 13. So we need tan inverse 11 over 13. And that will give us, let's see, 40.236 and so on. We want this to the nearest degree. So tan inverse 11 over 13 then is going to be approximately equal to 40 degrees. Okay, so this is part C. A line cuts the x-axis at the point A, which is A0, and the y-axis at B, which is 0b. A and B are integers. The slope of this line is minus 2/3. The area of the triangle enclosed by this line, the x and the y-axis, is 12 square units. There are two different lines that satisfy these conditions. Find the equation of these two lines. It may be useful to draw a diagram. Okay, so let's draw a diagram anyway. So we've got our y-axis, we've got our x-axis. The two lines will look something like this. So these two lines need to be parallel because they have the same slope. So both these lines have a slope of minus 2 over 3. So this point here is on the y-axis, and that's going to be b, which is 0b. On the x-axis, that's a, which is a0. Now this point down here is also on the y-axis, so this is also b if you like. This will also have coordinates 0b, but in this case the b will be negative. Here, this will also have coordinates a0, but the a in this case will be negative. So we know that the area of this triangle and the area of this triangle is 12 square units. So what I'm going to do here is use the fact that they've given us the area to make an equation, use the fact that they've given us the slope, and make two equations and solve them simultaneously. So let's write down the first equation. The area of a triangle is half the base times the height. In our case, the area is 12. The base in this case is this distance here, and that distance there is a. So it's half of a times the height. The height of that triangle is this distance here, and that is the y coordinate, which is just b. So that's my first equation. I'm just going to multiply both sides by 2, so that's 24 is equal to ab. There's my first equation. The second thing I'm going to do is look at the slope. So we know that the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if we look at these 2 points here, let's take this as x1, y1. Let's take this as x2, y2. So we're going to make our second equation. So our slope minus 2/3 has to be equal to y2, which is 0, minus y1, which is b, divided by x2, which is a, minus x1, which is 0. So this is my second equation. I've just got to tidy it up a little bit. So let's see, we've got minus 2/3 is equal to minus b over a. So we just change the signs there. 2/3 is equal to b over a, or 2a is equal to 3b. Let's just get a on its own. A is equal to 3 over 2b. Okay, so this is my second equation. And remember, the first equation was AB is equal to 24. This is my first equation. So what I'm going to do is substitute A in here. So I'm going to substitute this as A. I'm going to substitute that in here. So 3 over 2B times B is equal to 24. Or let's see, 3b squared is equal to 48. B squared is equal to 48 divided by 3, which is 16. And then b can be plus or minus 4. So we have two values for b here. To find a, we'll just substitute it back into one of the equations. So let's substitute it back into the first one. Let's say ab is equal to 24. This is equation 1. So if b is equal to plus 4, that'll give us a times 4 is equal to 24, which gives us a is equal to 6 plus 6. If b is equal to minus 4, that gives us a times minus 4 is equal to 24, which gives us a is equal to minus 6. So now I have my 4 values for a and b. So let's write those out. I have a is equal to 6 and b is equal to 4. I've got a is equal to minus 6 and b is equal to minus 4. Okay, so we've got to write out the equations. The question was to write out the equation of the two lines. If you look at our original diagram up here, so if you look at this line here, b is the y coordinate. That's where it cuts the y-axis. The slope is minus 2/3. So b, remember, was 4 and minus 4. So this is 4, this is going to be minus 4 down here. Okay, so let's write out our two equations. So y is equal to the slope minus 2/3. Remember, I'm writing this in the form y is equal to mx plus c. So it's minus 2/3 x, and then the b there was the y-intercept, which was plus 4. So there's one equation. The other one was y is equal to minus 2/3 x. The second line cut the y-axis at minus 4. So there are my two answers, and that's this question done.